And we did an episode with Adam Posner, who's a big time recruiter and actually used to work for Gary Vaynerchuk and such. And we talked about pivot and about how to pivot after you've been fired. And I'll send you the link to it, but it's an interesting conversation, some different thoughts about the identity crisis you go through when you're making a pivot as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Having shifted from law enforcement to what I'm doing now, it was a massive pivot, especially after an injury, a neck injury and shoulder injury.
Why is that why you retired? Because of the injury?
Yeah, my neurologist suggested that if I get hit in the head again, how I got
Right.
hit the previous time, it's going to be a bad day for me. So I'm just like, you know what? I think I'm good.
I hear you.
I'm going to move on. It's okay. Doesn't mean
Right.
I don't miss the job or any of that stuff. Of course, you miss it, but I've been out of it now for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And with that comes a new identity and just it's a journey of, again, self-discovery. So you start to figure out who you are, where you're going, what you're doing, and the why behind why you're doing it. Then trying to take an inventory of all the things that you've done in your life to see where can I go next with the tools that I have? And are there any tools that I'm missing? Is there something that I need to learn? Can I dive into self-education? Is it okay for me to do that? Do I have your permission, Bradley, to dive
Right.
into self-education? And the answer for a lot of people, they're afraid to answer that question for themselves, that I can read something, I can take something, I can use something right now in this moment today and deploy it in my life in real time and have that be useful without somebody with a PhD telling me what to do.
Or that, or your wife, your husband, your ex, your friends, your parents, your family, whatever. I'm glad you said that because I'm glad that a masculine former cop can say that because I think and I know you had some others like Sean Whalen, some other people's on this thing too. I think that's a thing that for a lot of us is pardon the French, but we kind of puss out a little bit and we think, oh, permission's a great word. Nobody has to give you permission. Do a damn thing. Do what you want to do. And yet we all question ourselves, no matter who you are, how much of a badass you are. I love that.
And the question always comes down to, what do you want? And
Yeah.
that's usually the most difficult question for us to answer. It's who am I? That's a real good one to start with. And then what do I want? I don't know. I've never asked myself that question. I've always done what everybody expected me to do. I live somebody else's life. My parents told me I should be doing this. I should go to school. I should become a doctor, a lawyer, an electrician, whatever it is for you. But you were told to do all of these things and you then find yourself late in life. And this is what I love about advanced adulting and all the work that you're doing is we don't see these things. We see it as a midlife crisis for a lot of us because that's what we've been indoctrinated into. But the reality is just an awakening to who you really are. When you make that reframe, all of a sudden you start looking at yourself and other people differently. And you realize how much time you have on the back end because the first 25 years of your life, you were just trying to figure out how to be a human, to walk and talk and communicate.
Yep. There's a couple things with it. It's funny. One is an old Bukowski quote. And everybody who's like the faux wannabe writer loves to quote Kerouac or Bukowski. But this one makes sense. It's this idea of who were you before the world put their labels on you? And I think that's a genius way to approach it. And the other was, and I've talked about this before, I've got 3 kids, all in their 20s. And my youngest son, before he went off to school, he's the more neurotic one, the baby, the little anxious one. And he was scared of making the wrong choice. And whether he was going to upset me or his mom or grandparents or anything like that. I said, dude, let me give you some very unpopular advice that's going to save you 30 years. I said, we're all going to die. I said, at some point, your mom and I are going to be dead. We're going to be gone. Your grandparents are going to be gone. Your brother and sister are going to be living their lives, having their own things. And everybody loves you and wants the best for you. But save you 30 years. Do what the hell you want to do. It doesn't really matter. Because when you're 40 and we're gone, it's you. It's just you doing you. And I wish someone had told me that ages ago.
You're going to end up having to trust your own discernment and decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not going to get it right. You're going to screw it up. And it's okay.
Yeah. So before we get too far into this, tell everybody who you are and who you help.
Yeah, Bradley Richardson. The bio part, 5-time best-selling author. I wrote the very first business book for Gen X back in my 20s when I had hair. Now I am a 50-something father of 3, single but in a fantastic relationship, a man just trying to make it like everybody else. So my career had spent over a decade as a headhunter. I was an OG influencer. I hate that word, but I've been doing this for about 30 years and coaching and working with people and helping us matriculate life. And about 6 years ago, I got back to my passion on a pivot, doing what I want, and that is really sharing these messages and content. And I created a brand called Advanced Adulting, where we help grown-ass adults navigate midlife and beyond. And it's not all the pretty, hey, great, look, I've got a six pack and a great ass and I'm on testosterone and I'm dancing, shaking my ass on TikTok, which is fine, but it's
Yeah.
all the stuff that every single one of us, regardless of your background, education, income, geography, we all go through. Going through divorce, changing careers, losing a parent. And there's some happy good time stuff as well. But it's all the real stuff that we all go through, the advanced adulting, not just, hey, I'm learning how to do laundry and balance my bank account, but the serious shit that nobody tells you about that we all encounter.
It's interesting. We don't talk about navigating the good times.
Yeah.
You don't seem to have to ask that question. Man, the times are so good. How am I supposed to get through all these good times? This is horrible. We always come to looking for information when we're going through our hardest and most difficult times. And
Yeah.
that's why the work that you do is so important, because you tackle a lot of these really difficult questions that we're all asking ourselves, and we
Mm-hmm.
think we're alone in that process. And the reality is, if you really start digging, you go into different comment sections on all the different people
Right.
that are creating content in the way that we do, you begin to realize that you're not alone. A lot of people are going through exactly what you're going through.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest challenge is understanding, what am I supposed to do in my circumstance? Because I
Right.
get it that somebody else is doing this thing, but I don't see how that translates into what I'm doing.
Well, one of the things too, and again, I'll go back to one of your former guests there is Waylon on that. I followed him for a long time. I have so much, you don't have to agree with everything everybody
No.
does to really like it and respect it. And I have a respect for someone like him and others out there who just keep it real, because there's so much bullshit on social media. And that was one of the things and the approach that I do. Again, if you watch social media, you'd think you're the biggest loser on the planet, because if you're not a crypto bro living in Miami, driving this and that and the other, you suck. And I'm like, no, the real deal is when you get somebody being real, get somebody off camera being real, you're exactly right. You realize, man, you're not alone. You're not alone going through this, whether it is a business failure, whether it's a marriage failure, whether it's having effed up kids, whether it's any of this. And I know that's some heavy stuff, but the deal is, we see so much, and so much is the posers and fake stuff on Instagram, and everybody wants to be a celeb.
Yeah.
And we forget that's the real stuff. And I believe that it's bookends, it's a pendulum. You have either the people that are just stuck and mired in all the downside of it. Life sucks and it's horrible, and they love commiserating about the common bitch sessions, or everything's wonderful and perfect. You go, no, when I started advanced adulting, it was funny because I'm very well connected, and I spent some time. I've been in Texas forever. We just moved to California, and 2 years ago, I came out to California, spent some time with some of the big name influencers. And you realize behind the scenes, you go, wait a minute, you're full of shit. You don't have two nickels to rub together. Your wife's up in the tennis pro, all the stuff that's real. You go, but why? Nobody wants to
Yeah.
admit that. And I think that's funny. One thing that's important.
You
One
learn
of the
a lot of
series,
secrets, that's for sure.
you do. And I respect the people that's like, hey, you know what? I'm having the same issues. And we may handle it differently. We may be at different stages or points, but we all go through this. And one of the most important things, like right now, we're doing a series on advanced adulting about caregiving. And what's funny is it's doing well because of people who get it are highly engaged. But it's one of those things that people they don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to think about mom and dad getting old or having to care for them or dementia or the expenses, all of that stuff.
Extremely smart series, by the way.
Thank you.
This is literally the time where this is happening for so many of us, and it's not being talked about enough.
It's not, and it's not a pretty subject. But what's interesting about it is when you really have those real conversations, you realize, hey man, you're not alone, or you're the one going through it. Or when, hey, why did someone move back to your hometown? I had to take care of my mom. Oh, we're going to take care of my father-in-law, or something like that. Or hey, I don't want to put them in a home. And to know that you're not the only one. You're not the only one who is putting a stressor on your relationship, your finances, your job, anything, is important. But it's also to know that you can get through it, because when you're going through something, and I read your questions too. When we're going through something, whether it's a pivot, a crisis, whatever, even strong people think, I don't want to tell anybody. I'm embarrassed. I'm the only one. I'm going to push this down. That doesn't mean you have to open up a vein and tell everybody and use social media as your own therapy session. But it's pretty cool sometimes to go, all right, I'm not alone in this. And I think that's one of the things I try and do with advanced adulting is acknowledge the problem or situation, realize you're not alone, and realize there are other people that have gotten through. And you don't have to use everything. There's a blueprint for some things, and sometimes the blueprint is flexible and malleable and make it what you want. That's a good thing.
So how can someone begin to navigate when the roles switch in the relationship that you have with your parent?
Oh, wow. We're figuring that right now. I think one of the biggest things I have learned, again, and I'm not, and it's important for people to know, I know a lot of stuff. There are certain lanes where I will go up against anybody and saying, hey, I know this. There's others where I've experienced this. And there's others of, I don't have an answer, but I know who to go to, and let's bring them in. And that's one, this is one of these. My mom has passed. We had to experience that. I think the biggest thing that people need to be aware of is maintaining that sense of self. Maintaining that sense of self throughout it. It is a burden. And to be able, the experts I've spoken to and interviewed, and we've got one coming out next week, is about the importance of, you and I started this conversation with this idea of labels and chapters and pivots. The idea of being a caregiver is just another temporary label that you have for a period of your life. And just like you have any period or label in your life, like you had a cop, you had law enforcement, that was a label, a chapter, a lane in your life that isn't there anymore, but it was part of who you are and you've moved on. Just like I have from being, I was married, that was someone who you are at that point. Now you're not. That's okay. And being a caregiver and acknowledging it and recognizing that this is a chapter of my life that I'm serving as, but I still take care of me. There's some power in that. And it seems so obvious, but we don't take advantage of that.
No, I totally agree. There's certainly different seasons of life that we go through, and it can be challenging when you're going through these things
Yeah.
and you're not prepared for it, or you feel maybe just undereducated on a particular topic and you find yourself struggling trying to navigate something that feels like a Kobayashi Maru, if you can go back to some Star Trek days, but at that impossible situation that you find yourself in. But when you realize that a lot of the situations that we're in, they're not really that impossible. Sometimes it's just a matter of seeking, one, creating the awareness, two, starting to seek the information, and three, look for people who can support you. That ability to ask for help and recognize that you find it out very quickly. There's a ton of people that you can turn to for support, but we often unilaterally dismiss them as, you haven't gone through what I gone through, so you don't understand any of this. And it's, people want to support you. They want to love you, but you have to be able to give and receive love and the assistance in order to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, for men especially, it's across the board, but for men especially, it's a slippery slope because you want to be in touch with your emotions. You want to be able to talk about these things, but nobody wants to hear a whiny man. Nobody wants to hear your open vein, especially to your woman or something like that. So it's
Oh, poor baby, man up.
Yeah, look, I think that's the hard part. And so what happens is we keep it to ourselves often. Okay, not everybody, but I'm a victim of this. So you keep a lot to yourself and you don't even share
Store it and ignore it, baby.
Look, there are elements of certain aspects of your life where it should be the male or female, doesn't matter. Hey, I got this. Hold my beer, I got this. And I love that. And then there are others where you're like, I'm hanging on and nobody knows I am coming apart inside. I had one of those several months ago where I'm like, nobody knows that I am just coming unglued. And the people who love me and are close to me know something's up. But until you need, I don't want to say a support group, but you need a release valve. You need someone who can just go, hey, man, here you go. I got to let this out. Judgment free. Or maybe it's this thing where, hey, tell me if I'm smoking crack on this. Tell me if I'm just completely off my rocker or what, but give me some real objective feedback here.
That's always a good question. Find somebody that you trust and just ask them for a perception check. Hey, I need to tell you something. I'm going to share it with you. And then I just need you to tell me, am I crazy? What am I thinking? Is this okay? Am I going in the wrong direction? Can you point me in a different direction? Is there something that you know that I don't know that could help me here? That's connection, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny. I don't want to hijack one of your questions, but I think the timing of this is really important on the answer for this. And it's that idea of, for strong people, how do they handle things? And I think that's one of the biggest ones for strong people is we're not gonna say anything. And for the strong people that I know, and yeah, I put myself in that category. Look, I'm not perfect. I screw the pooch on a regular basis, but I think I'm a pretty strong guy. And the thing is, the people who are sociopaths, people who are egomaniacs, they're the ones who, oh, I'm fine, I've got this, it's great, I'm awesome, I'm badass. No, you're not. You're a piece of shit. No. It's the ones who they're trying to, it's here. It's like the duck. It's like a duck. You're looking smooth, but underneath it's just giving it this stuff. And the funny thing I've noticed is those types of people, and I'll put myself in this category, no one's harder on us than ourselves. No one beats ourselves up more. And we see ourselves so differently than the world sees us sometimes. And I know that from my own experience, there's a time I'm coming apart and I'm talking to an old friend of mine and as a guy I trusted, I said, dude, I think I'm like the biggest useless piece of shit. Really, I'm having a hard time on this. I've screwed this up and this. He goes, dude, he goes, I would never see that. I would never think of that. Let me tell you how I see you and how some other people who are close to you see you. Because we lose sight of ourselves because we're so mired in the bullshit story we tell ourselves and put on top of it that we forget. Again, I think that people, you know, self-awareness, you know, or lack of self-awareness rather, it can be from the people who have the giant egos and I'm awesome and everything's perfect. But it's the other side of that coin is the one where it's, man, God, I suck. No, you don't. You're not defined by you're really not defined by your best day or your worst day. That's it.
Yeah. We can and should be more confident than what we are within ourselves. But it's difficult to be able to see ourselves as other people would see us because we don't get the feedback. People aren't going around telling you, hey, good job. Hey, that was really smart. Hey, I really like the way that you handled this thing. That was really amazing. That was a really tough situation. Just brilliant the way that you handled that. You don't get that type of feedback. And so you really have to build that up within yourself and know yourself, which is key. You have to
Mm-hmm.
know yourself, who you are, where you're going, what you're doing, and the why behind why you're doing it. And as you do, you become more capable, competent, and confident, and you'll start to show up differently in the world, and you'll stop taking what other people are giving to you or the labels that they tend to cast or project onto you, and you'll start questioning. You'll say, hey, you know what, actually I disagree with that. I can see how you would get there with the limited information that you have about me and my situation or me as a whole person. So I get why you're projecting this onto me right now, but I actually have to disagree. And we're not having this conversation, but it's a internal process that's going on inside of you where you say, actually, I'm not going to accept that. That's their burden to bear, and they need to
Right.
go through that for themselves. But other times you have to be open enough, right? That when somebody's giving you something to say, is there a kernel of truth in this? Is there something I can learn from what they're giving me?
Yeah.
Am I really an asshole? Maybe I should think about that for a second. Yeah, actually, I can see how in this moment I'm
Yeah.
an asshole.
And
Damn.
the flip of that is, are they accurate? Are they coming from a good place? Are they giving you objective feedback or feedback you
Yeah,
can use, or are they just projecting their own story? Because I
yeah,
think that's a lot, and it's taken me a long time to realize that look, you may have a problem, but it's not with me. There's nothing I've done on this. That's all you and yours. You can tell. We can tell. It's someone who, you know, you're acting just like such and such. And I know a lot of the coaching and things that I've done. Relationships are an interesting when someone
totally.
projects of all men are this or all women are that. I'm like, no, your woman's like that. Your man's a cheater. Not all projecting your own shit on
Yeah,
this.
the people in your sphere of influence are
Yeah,
like that. The people that you currently align with, the people that you invite into your life to experience life with you
yeah.
are like that. But there's a
That's on
whole
you.
other 8 billion people that you
Yeah,
have not experienced and will probably never experience.
that's a big one.
It's so interesting because we we like to generalize. And what that does is it gives us a sense of safety and security in our world and our perception of the world and our place in it. So I'm just going to make this general statement and I'm going to demonize this, that, and the other thing because it makes me feel more confident in where I'm at right now. But
Yeah.
it also becomes a barrier to connection. And so you'll find yourself saying, I only ever date this type of person. And yeah,
Right.
because that's what you align yourself with. And so
Wow.
in order to get beyond that, you have to raise your frequency. You have to self-educate. You have to be the one that creates the change in your own life and stop expecting other people to change for you.
It validates the bullshit story you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And so many of us do that. And that's the barrier to change, barrier to being to pivoting, barrier to reinvention so many times is we continue to tell ourselves the same BS story and we believe it. It allows us to remain in place, allows us to remain the victim. And again, that's not saying you're whining. I'm saying there are strong people out there. It's the hardest conversation you're ever going to have is the one with the person looking back in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a cliche, but true. Your real change starts when you stop believing your own BS story. That's it.
And so, what would you say is the biggest mindset shift that people need to make when they hit a crossroad in life, whether it's personal, professional, or emotional?
I think a lot of it is that this is a blip in time. That is a blip in time. When something It could be any sort of pivot. But oftentimes the big pivots are life events, life changes. It could be a job loss. It could be becoming an empty nester. It could be a relationship, something. We tend to think, this is horrible. I'll never get over this. I'll never get through. Yeah, you will. You will. It's going to suck. It will suck. It will be difficult. You may not know what to do. You may not have the answer right now at this point in time, but over the scope of your entire life, this is a speed bump. And I think it was Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso, who did this. It's not a Ted Lasso quote, but Jason Sudeikis went through a pretty ugly public divorce. And I think the quote I had seen was him talking about this. Said, right now you think this is your entire story, but he goes, 6 months from now, it will be a paragraph. In a year, it will be a sentence. And a year after that, it's going to be a word and then a mark. And I really, when I read that, I thought that is so on target, because over time, the severity of something diminishes and you have something to replace it. Something oftentimes never new. I'm sure that when you left law enforcement, the last thing you ever thought was, you know what, I really want to coach and be a podcaster and do all this stuff. Probably not ever on the radar. You don't know what you don't know. And I think once you become comfortable with that ambiguity, then pivots become a little more entertaining. Doesn't mean they're not scary. Doesn't mean they don't suck. Doesn't mean you wake up one day and you don't know what you're doing. It just means, hey, this is truly a marathon, not a sprint. And God would love for it to be a sprint. I'd love for it to just be, hey, I'm gonna flip that switch and it's good. Okay. But it is, your timeline has changed dramatically. And when you can understand that, and I think the other key piece to this as far as mindset is, you're going to have the good days and bad days. And it's not to sound flippant or cliche. It is just an idea of, it's not hockey stick. It's not like, all right, I'm awesome. It's, hey, it's a roller coaster. It's at Six Flags. And it is this stuff. And when you have a shit day, it's okay. This is not how it's going to be. One of my the things I'd always tell people, and I really believe this, is this idea of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's progress. Your net on that is progress. 2 forward, 1 back, because you will screw it up. You're going to mess it up. There are going to be bad days. There are going to be days when you don't know what the hell you're doing. And that's all right, as long as you're making those 2 steps.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us sometimes when we're in it, to understand the temporary nature of things. And that's why I often tell people is self-check-in is really important. Allow yourself to zoom out, to step back, to become that third-party omniscient being looking down on the situation and evaluating it for what it really is. And then think about things that you've gone through in the past that were difficult, and obviously where you are now, you get there very quickly. Oh yeah, I went through a hard thing probably about 10 years ago and I navigated that. Man, that's really far in the past. And so we forget about those things because you were able to navigate it successfully. It didn't have a long-term impact, and you were able to integrate all of that information and to use it to help you become a better, more stable person. Now, the problem that we often run into is some of us are anxious overthinkers and ruminators, and we carry this stuff with us. So what would you tell someone who's going through those type of ruminations where they struggle to let things go and carry it with them for decades?
Oh my God, I'm the king of overthinking here. I sometimes I think it would be so much easier to go through life as just a blissful idiot, but instead
we've all been there. It was great.
I wish I had a really low IQ and we're just an idiot and just go, yep, it's good. This is going to sounds overly simplistic, but write it down. Keep a bunch of these. Whatever you do, write it down. And that's not just for the get it out of yourself. That's part of it. The bigger thing is this, and I don't care. I've done every random thing from note cards. There have been times in my life you'd walk into a bathroom or a room or an office and go, this guy is either working for the FBI or he is a serial killer, because it looks like the whole wall with everything put up there. But I think that's important, because you need those visual cues. You need those reminders. You can have all this stuff in your head, but if you're overthinking and you're done, you can't get out of it. But sometimes, I remember at one difficult point, I had a stack of index cards, and it was not to say it's affirmations. You're not the Stuart Smalley, hey, you're good enough and smart enough, but really, it's the relationships are a great example. When you're still thinking about somebody or a job or whatever, oh, if I'd only done this or they were this. No, I want you to write down, they suck because of. Do you remember this particular thing? Because there are things that are those triggers that make you, or the things that, hey, you will never do this again. Okay. You're not going to act like this. Here's you and your power. Here's when you felt good. I know that sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, when you are in the shit, when you are in your head and you are spiraling, sometimes it's okay. Oh, wow. Here it is. My own word of you remember this. or you know what to do, or you remember just who the hell you are. That's another one right there. In whatever situation it is, when you're feeling good, you're feeling strong, or you're feeling like, hey, I'm not going to take this shit anymore, or hey, I'm going to do this, or hey, any of those things, having that you can pull out your break glass in case of emergency, you pull that shit out and you look at it and remind yourself. Okay. As I said, it's not rocket science. We're not inventing fire in the wheel here, but it works and it gets you out of your head. And that's really what you need oftentimes is to get out of your head, get out of your own damn way, and just stop it. That's it right there. I don't know if anybody here is all woo-woo or not, but if you follow or listen to Abraham Hicks is good stuff. Oh, yeah. When you get past the thing of, oh, you're channeling this and this.
Just ignore that part, guys.
Get to the good stuff.
It's
yeah. Look, we just moved here from Joshua Tree where they actually have aliens and talk aliens. Oh, yeah, they came today.
I was going to say Joshua Tree had an impact on you.
Yeah, and I'm from Lubbock, Texas anyway, so it's wow, you go all weird. But no, but the whole point is, look, if you can do something to stop your own head from spiraling, you're your own worst enemy. That's really it. It's not that son of a bitch ex-wife or husband or all, it's none of that. It's not that employer. Yeah, it's you. And this is an important thing. Using a relationship example, there was someone who I'd worked with in advanced adulting, and she was so upset. She was just bent out of shape because she's like talking about that SOB ex-husband hers. You know what he's doing? And she wouldn't shut up about it. It's like he's in Costa Rica now, wow, with that new wife of his, and she's doing this, and she's got to my house. And I go, well, how long y'all been divorced? 5 years. I go, and here you are, you're still thinking about this, right? You are just spinning out of control thinking about all this. You know what he's doing? What? He's having a great time in Costa Rica
living
with
his
that
life.
wife. He's not thinking about you. She hated that. I go, but that's just it. And here you are, still letting this guy who hurt you 5 years ago continue to hurt you. And he's not hurting you. You are. This is on you. And people don't like hearing that shit. But that's real. We do that so much. It could be anything, a relationship, an employer, a situation, someone who pissed you off at the post office, whatever. They're living their life. Go live your life.
It's so interesting when we go through these things. A lot of us have a tendency to punish ourselves because we can't bring resolution to a problem, an issue, or a concern. We feel like it's in the hands of another person. And so that path of least resistance is often going to be, I'm just going to make myself wrong because I can't resolve it with them. So I messed up. I'm a bad person. I'm horrible at this. I shouldn't have done that. I'm worthless. And then it's like all of a sudden, that's what you're feeding yourself. And that's the core belief that you're going to have. I'm bad. We do this in our relationships to, like you said, to our detriment, because you end up creating this story and this narrative about the other person and their experience. But it's okay. It's been 5 years. They're living their life. They're doing their thing. It doesn't matter who they're with. Are they a better fit? Did that new person or your ex-husband, is he giving everything to that person that he never gave to you?
Does it matter? Does it even matter?
It shouldn't matter. But what we often want is that revenge. And it comes down to this. The best revenge is just a life well lived.
Yeah, your revenge. Yeah. Who hasn't done that? Come on. What are you doing? Hey, I'm going to go get my hot body. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go day half Dallas is exactly what I'm going to do.
You do it for you.
Cool. But I think the thing, revenge is a piece. But I think the bigger thing is I hear this so often. I want them to know what they've done. I want them to acknowledge how they hurt me. I want to hear that they're sorry. Keep waiting, sister. Okay. It ain't going to happen. It's just not, because you're waiting for someone else to free you. You're waiting for someone else to what? It's like when we're 7 years old and you get into a fight with your sibling or your cousin or whatever, and your parents are like, hey, go shake hands. And you're like, you don't mean shit. You're like, you're just doing it to say it. It's not going to make you feel better. Okay. And even if they did, I'm really sorry I hurt you. Oh, you don't mean it. There's no win in this situation. I once heard that sign of maturity is the ability to forgive and let go without an apology. And I thought, ooh, that's good. And once that's a gift you give yourself. And we don't think about that. We think someone else needs to give us that. Nope, they're never going to. The gift you give yourself is saying, hey, I'm letting that one go. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it hurt less. It doesn't make it, you wish it. I'm reinventing and pivoting right there.
Yeah, it's hard when you sit back. I ran into somebody recently, and I'm not going to say they owe me an apology, but there's certainly one that they could give if they felt that it was appropriate for them at the time. And you sit there and you acknowledge it and you recognize that they don't have it in them. It's not something that they've processed or that they've even really thought about, that they did something that they should have to apologize for. And that's why you have to get yourself to that place where it's okay. You just have to see Mel Robbins and the let them theory. It's just let them go live their life. You don't need that apology, because as long as you show up in integrity with yourself, as long as you know that you're doing the right things, as long as you know that you've done everything that you know that you're capable of doing, and you showed up appropriately for who you are as a person, then why would you ever need an apology from somebody?
I guess yes, 100%. And the other thing is, does this person play a key role in your life right now? And are they going to continue being in your life? And that even goes for family members as well. I think that's one of the things that so many of us get hung up on, is we start out this whole conversation about chapters, and as you evolve throughout and pivot throughout your life, man, not everybody's going to make the story. Not everybody makes the cut. It's like watching Netflix or something. Hey, guess what? This season, this character got written out, and we need to write more people out of the story. And other people are going to come in, and they're going to come in for mini seasons, and they're going to come in for maybe just a couple episodes. And I think that's the thing is, yeah, not everybody's going to make the cut at all. And I need to hear from them. Look, this person we're not going to go have drinks. They're not coming over for dinner. They don't get the cookout. We're not going to see each other at the holiday.
I'm not even going to like your Facebook post.
Yeah. I love that meme out there. Is like, how I'm a Gen Xer. Okay. So it was like, hey, how we used to unfriend somebody. And it was a picture of your high school yearbook with their face all scribbled out. And that's how you used to do it. But we got to hang on to it now. Everybody has to be liked and hung on to. You need to know what they're doing. No, total sidebar here, but in that same vein, sometimes cutting them out 100%, not a bad thing, or at least for a period of time. And how many go back to relationships? Great example, or friendships. Social media, it's a wonderful thing, and it's the damn devil too, because who are they with? What are they doing? They blocked me. That son of a bitch. I can't believe they blocked me. You know what? You need to block them first, because that's for you. That is 100% for you, not for them. That is all for you, because the last thing, you don't need to be tempted. You don't need to see it. You don't care. Just go live your life. Do your thing. That's it.
And the thing is, we're old enough to remember a time without social media where when you broke up with someone or you separated from a job or a career path, like you never saw those people ever again. You might have run into them once at the grocery store, but you never hung out with them. You never had a conversation with them. You didn't keep tabs on them. You had no idea what they were up to in their life. And that's really how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to hang on to everybody that you've ever known in your lifetime for the rest of your life. You don't have the capacity for it. You have to be able to make room for the people that are important to you right now in this moment. You have 5 people, have the emotional capacity to be able to serve them in a way that you're capable of serving.
I think one of the big mistakes that people our age, a lot of people all the time make it, but I think a lot of people our age make it, is not everybody's going to like you. Nobody has to like you at all. And I don't care if you sit there about us. I don't. The popular thing is now, the subtle art of not giving a F. I get it. I love that. But if you actually read that book, it's not what you think. It's not a matter of being flippant, F them. That's more of, okay, I'm going to put all the chips in the middle on the stuff I really care about. Those are the F's that I give. I'm going to embrace the things that are important to me. And everything else, done. And I think that a lot of us, with our need to be seen, heard, acknowledged, accepted, liked, listen, lukewarm. One of the best compliments I ever got, people may hate this, but one of the best compliments I ever got was back in Dallas. They said, Bradley, there are people in this town who would take a bullet from half the people in this town would take a bullet for you. The other would want to put one in you. And I go, I can live with that. I'm okay with that. Because I don't need a bunch of lukewarm people hanging on the fence like, he's okay. I think that's a big thing that a lot of us, an advanced adulting lesson, I believe in the law of thirds. And that simply is this. 100% of the people are not going to love you. They're not going to hate you either. But a third of the people, they're just going to hate you on spec. They're going to say, you know what? I hate people from the Midwest. I don't like bald people. You remind me of somebody from high school.
I just don't like your face.
Yeah, and there's not a thing you can do that will change their mind at all. Third of the people, right out there on spec. Like a dog sometimes, those are the ones why don't you like me? And you go up and you try and do that. And the second third of the people, it's situational. You're okay sometimes, you're not okay sometimes. I don't care, but it is very situational, circumstantial. It's okay. But those last third, a third of the people, those are your folks. They dig your chili. They're your people. And that's the ones you can trust, the ones who will love you regardless. I'm not talking some suck up or sycophant, but why don't we focus on those people and let the others go? I don't expect everybody to. You're just not going to like me. That's okay. I'm good. Life would be a lot easier that way. Like being stupid sometimes and going through life.
No, my self-worth is directly linked to what everybody thinks of me, to include everybody on the internet. They have to like me.
And why do we try? It's so funny. And I found myself, Shannon gives me such a hard time about this one. So inevitably, the people who say something shitty to me on the internet or on a comment on YouTube or whatever, inevitably, have 3 followers, no picture, no description. They put up one video in 18 years, and they're the ones that go, you suck. Yeah. And they're the ones that I'm like, what do you mean? It's just
my response is always, you need a hug, bro? You good?
Yeah. Who? Not breastfed? What?
Like, who hurt you, my guy? It's
become in your circle, your orbit, the people who you like, respect, and whose opinion matters. And I think it was originally the Teddy Roosevelt quote, but Brene Brown used. It's the arena. Hey, are you in the arena? Are you swinging? Do you know anything about what I'm doing or trying to do or anything about my life? Have we ever met, spoken face to face? I don't give a shit. You don't get a vote. It's okay.
They only ever care about one sentence that you've given out. They don't look at the totality of your work at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
So what would you tell people, because a lot of people here are in that lonely period where they don't really resonate with the people that have been in their life for their entire history, and then they really haven't found that next group of people. They're in it now. We've got 30 people that are in the group and they're interacting with each other in the Facebook group, but beyond that, in their real lives with real people, they just haven't reached that point yet. What would you tell them with being in this lonely period?
Nobody's going to come to you. You've got to go do it. Again, unpopular advice, sorry, but it's true. Yeah. It's not like when we're 8 years old. It's not like we're 8 years old and someone's going to knock at the door and go, hey, can Connie come out and play? No, they're not going to do that. It'd be great if they were, but adults, we have our own hang-ups and baggage and stuff, and everybody wants to be asked to the dance, but nobody wants to make the first move. And as hard as that is, there are a couple things with that. As hard as that is, when you're in your lonely period, force yourself to be uncomfortable in new situations. Doesn't mean everything's going to be great. Doesn't mean everything's going to work. And I'm not talking about you need to go to a church group and you need to go to a single. No, I'm talking about is there something you want to do? You want to learn to paint? Do you want to learn to cook? Do you want to do whatever? Put yourself in a situation where you have to go by yourself. And the other is this. Figure out who in your orbit. The problem for a lot of us in a situation like that, we're lonely, but we still have our incestuous little orbit, okay, of our go-to. I can't do anything, but I'm going to take these 3 people over here. And that's all you end up doing. You may have to break a tie. You may have to, and this is for yourself. That's not anything negative about anybody. I'm not saying not being friends with anybody. I'm saying you need to put yourself in another situation where you are open and uncomfortable and open to the result, whether it is positive or negative. I think that's a big thing. You sometimes are going to have to be the one who says, hey, it sounds weird, but you want to go dinner? You want to get a drink? Hey, I'm going here. Solo road trip here for an A+. I think a solo road trip everybody needs a solo road trip. One of the best things I ever did was I took a solo road trip to a little island called Vieques, which is in between, it's an offshoot of Puerto Rico. I went days without talking. And then I went into the town. And I made it a point to have conversations, I ended up getting invited to dinner at houses, all kinds of things. You'll find yourself, here's the deal. I hate the word, it sounds corny, but I hate the word stretch. But you got to stretch yourself a little bit. And that's the beauty of a pivot, of a reinvention. A reinvention does not always mean, hey, I got a new wardrobe and I suddenly grew hair. It's not like something, sometimes it could be physical, but really it's putting yourself in a situation where you can grow to become the person you want to become. That's it. You can try on a different personality. You can try on a different speech pattern. You can try on a different activity. And they're not all going to work, and that's okay. That's it. But I think that giving yourself that freedom, that permission, that strength to be able to say, you know what, I like this. I want to try this. And I'm going to do so without having Billy Bob or Susie Q behind me going, what are you doing that for? That's not it. You changing, you growing is going to piss some people off. It will. And it says more about them than you. You're not the same. Why would you do that? That's not you. Yeah, well, no, it's not. Because I'm growing, I'm expanding. And you're going to add people to your orbit and you're going to lose people along the way as well. That's important.
Now, we've talked about making a pivot, connection, relationships, overthinking, and the temporary nature of things, but we haven't taken a dive into cultivating abundance yet. How do you shift from a scarcity mindset, whether it's about money, success, or relationships, into a more abundant mindset?
That's a hard one. I'm still wrestling with that one.
I think we all are. And so
No.
I think it's a really good question, even just wherever you are now, to get an answer.
I said this: stacking wins. Stacking wins, no matter how small. That's really it. See, I think that I'm going to go off on a tangent on this one. This is the
Let's hear
work in progress part. I remember back in Dallas one time, I'm driving with one of my children. We're through a rough part of town. We'd actually gone to one of the shelters and donated some stuff. And we're driving through a really rough part of Dallas there. And you're seeing all these people. And I started talking to my son about this. And I thought, some of these people, some of it's drugs, some of it's mental illness, some of it's their own doing, some of it is just a series of they had a couple of losses, whether it was just a bad deal, lost a job, whatever it is. And sometimes people just need one win. And I believe in that. Former athlete, like a lot of people, I believe in momentum. Okay. And that does wonders for your outlook, your confidence. And we think we have to hit the home run. We think we have to have it all. No, sometimes, and whatever that win is for you, not to minimize anything, sometimes it's, you know what? I got out of bed. I got dressed. I didn't drink today. Whatever it is. Sometimes it's, hey, I made the phone call. Hey, I actually reached out to a friend or a new friend. Right? It could be anything, but I think you start to stack small wins. And then once you get that, and whether you get, because I think you're going to be, that creates abundance in anything, because you're finding something comes to you. And it is that thinking of, get back to the old, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on it now, but it's the idea of things work out for me. Things work out for me. And we are so accustomed to the, things don't work out. People always do this, but I think you start to really step back and stack the small wins. Does a lot. And I know people say gratitude, and I think that's important too. When you get a win, yeah, cool, thank you. All right. But I think we tend to minimize the small wins. Oh, it's only this. No, that's your baggage. That's your full friends. That's your parents. That's your old labels talking about, oh, that's not important. No, for right now where you are, that's good. I did this. Yeah. I think the other thing is keeping promises to yourself. Keeping promises to yourself. That's a win. That's abundance. Okay. Yeah. Because again, there's so much that's in our head. So much in our head of recognizing that things come to you if you do what you say you're going to do to yourself, not someone else. Oh, I've let people down. Sure you have. And you're probably going to let them down again, but try not to let yourself down. It starts with that, the small things. That's a big mindset shift that I believe works and has worked for me. And I'm trying to get through it as well, just like everybody else.
Yeah, I think we all are. And one of the biggest things I've realized for myself, and I've heard other people say this too, is that you just need that one win. I like that. But you also just need one person to believe in you. And a lot of times that's all we need to be able to take a challenge and move towards it, because we have enough people telling us, oh, you can't do that. You're not capable of that. You're not smart enough. You can't do it. And then you have all this negative stuff going on through your head. You're right. I can't do any of that. So I'm just going to sit still, keep doing what I'm doing. And that's going to be my life for the next 50 years. But occasionally you run across somebody that truly, they're like, no, you're amazing. You can do that. Why can't you do that? And it uplifts you and it gives you just enough confidence to keep moving forward. And then I started networking. Now I was able to network through the podcast, and that's been amazing. I cold DM people. Hey, I have a podcast. Would you like to be on it? Yes. But with that comes opportunity. So you open yourself up to new experiences and new people, and then you're diving into novelty, and that opens you up to other opportunities down the road. Now, what's available to me in the future? I don't know, but I've created momentum towards something, and it's starting to get generated. It's starting to move forward, and I'm excited to see how it pans out. And I think that's really a big part of creating that abundance, is getting excited about those networking opportunities and to allow people in.
It's all of that. And it's also we've said this before in other aspects of it. It's the story you tell yourself. Okay. Yeah. Did they tell you no? Did you hear no? No, I just didn't ask. They're not going to do that. They're not going to say that. Right. Get out of your own damn way until someone says, no, they think I suck. Did they say you suck? No, that's you right there. Until you hear it.
That's so true.
Yeah. Until you hear it. Stop calling me. I'm getting a restraining order. You're annoying, whatever. Then the answer is keep trying. We step all over ourselves and in hearing no in our heads without really hearing it in real life. That's just that's scarcity right there.
Now, one thing I've also been contemplating, and it hasn't always been something on my mind, but I do start thinking about it a lot more lately, is how does someone start thinking about their own personal legacy, even if they feel like they're still figuring things out?
Yeah. Legacy is an interesting one. For some people, it's different for everybody. For some
Yeah,
people,
the
it's,
level of importance. Is it important?
here's my thing. I get asked this sometimes by people that I've worked with. It's or the people that that's not right, or what's the right thing to do? What's right? What's right for you?
Yeah.
What's right for you now? That is it. That's your legacy. That's it. And it's fluid because it is always changing. It is always changing. Your legacy, what it means now. And I did this, I'll send it to you. I did a solo podcast episode a while back. This idea of what you want your bucket list. My bucket list 15 years ago was full of stuff. That would be my legacy. Oh, I want a house here and I want this and this. Yeah, awesome. Now it's changed dramatically. And it's not as much stuff oriented. There's a couple of things or tangible things or achievements. But for the most part, now it's become more introspective and it's, hey, you know what? I want some really good friends. Hey, I want to spend more time with my children. Hey, I want to keep the promises to my, it's those types of things. And, we think that because we set something in stone, it's our legacy. No one's going to, again, more unpopular advice, guys. No one's going to remember who the hell you are. Okay. They're just not. Your kids. Okay. Sad stat. 4 generations down, nobody knows who the hell you are or what you do. Okay. Unless your name's on a building or a mountain. Okay.
Right.
That's it. So your legacy, your impact is micro, not macro. Okay. Nobody's going to remember that amazing Facebook post that you put up there. Nobody's going to remember all these amazing things. Okay. It's the impact that you make on the people around you right now. And oftentimes you do not know that. I'm a big art fan. So what's funny is we talk about this idea of a masterpiece. All right. So many people today have it backwards. Do you really think that Van Gogh or Degas or Monet or any of them said, I'm going to sit down, here are my paints, here's my piece of canvas, and you know what? I'm going to create a masterpiece. Bullshit. Doesn't work that way because it only happens until way after the fact. You don't know. Van Gogh didn't sell a single painting when he was alive. So you don't know what the impact or implications are until long afterwards. And other people determine that impact, not you. So you bring it in on a micro level. What is that impact for my legacy to me right now? And what is right for me? Yeah, right now. Yeah. I think
A,
that's
mo-
important.
a movie that hits at the heart of this, I saw a couple months ago. It's Here with Tom Hanks. And have you seen the previews for that
I've
at
not
all?
seen that. No.
Oh man, it's literally the single house and everything that occurred in that house for about a period of 100 years. And they go back and forth throughout time with all the different experiences that people were having. Ultimately, that legacy, you're absolutely right, is it's whatever you make of it, the level of importance that you put onto it, but it's really the things that you leave behind and the impression that you leave with the people that are closest to you and then that you love.
Yes, that's the impact that's our immediate footprint. That's our
Yeah.
immediate impact. The other one, though, and I guess not to sound selfish on it, but really it's the cliche of you're born alone, you die alone. And for me, anyway, one of the things that I look at as a legacy is, and I see so many people, and you've seen things all over the internet of regrets of the dying, all of that. It's important, tragic stuff. I I want to go out on fumes. Okay. I don't know if I'm 58. I don't know if I could go get hit by a bus tomorrow, get eaten by a shark in the ocean. I don't know if I've got another 35 years left. Great. I just want to be able to not leave anything in the tank. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is not I want to go to all this bullshit. I want to go to Kilimanjaro and do it. Good.
Sure.
More
Yeah.
importantly, cool. But more importantly, I don't want there to be anything left unsaid. I don't want there to be it's the idea of, hey, the people you love, tell them you love them. That. If you really feel that way, say it. They know. No, you do your own thing. But for me, I think that's an important thing because to be able to know I left this life just trying to give it everything I had. I tried. Wasn't successful always, but I sure as hell put it out there and I hung it out there. And I think that I don't think enough people, I know enough people don't do that. I know like my mom and I'm sure a lot of our parents and other people, oh, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have said this. Just because I think it's Ryan Holiday that said that just because you start a book doesn't mean you have to finish it. We spend so much of our time. I'm
Yeah.
obligated to this. Look, honor your commitments, honor your obligations. But you know what? If something isn't working in your life, kick that shit to the curb. You don't have to finish the book. You get one shot at this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Then we do have a couple questions and statements in here. Sheree says, I have an issue with no. I've gotten feedback that it's an issue that I don't process no well.
You mean like when people tell
Yeah.
Well, you should go into sales then. That's awesome.
I say I don't like no. That means when I feel like I have a connection established, to be told no, to ask, first of all, is a big deal if I ask. And so if I ask and I'm told no, or if there's some sense of you can just easily decline joining in on whatever it is I might need, I take that as like major rejection, and it makes me say, I'm out.
Here's the thing. I hear you 100%.
And I really made that, I made that comment about no earlier to something that was being talked about that I'm not making the connection on right now. So it was really more about the comment that you made earlier that I was just relating to it, in that the no is not always, as much as I believe everything works out for me. I so believe that, and I'm so strategic about moving in the lane that is more free for me, that when no happens, I'm that much more offended, I think, is really, or I'm that much more like not receptive to the no, or I'm that much more, oh no, why you should not be here.
Yeah,
it's more that.
No, I understand where you're coming from and how you feel that way, I guess. But the deal is, it ain't about you. I mean, that's just it. Sometimes, occasionally it might be, but for the most part, I mean, I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of us to. It doesn't make us bad people, but I mean, we do. We think the world revolves around us. And you told me no. Why can't you help me? Because you know what? You don't know their whole story. Because they're living. Maybe they just don't want. Maybe they're asserting a boundary. Maybe they just want to do their own damn thing. Maybe they got a kid or a dog that threw up. You don't know what the story is. I think that's the thing. Is we. And I've fallen. Look, I've got my nose been out of shape more times than I can count about things like that or anything. And then when you step back and you go, there's something going on in their life that I don't know, I don't need to know, and it sure as hell doesn't have anything to do with me. That is, and you know, look, if there's a pattern, you can tell. We're all smart people. I mean, if you can tell, you know, after a period of time, it's, hey, you know what? Maybe they're just not for me, or maybe it is about me, and I'm just not going to deal with it. But offense, you know, use the word offended. Right? I'm not bagging on you at all, but it's just funny that word offended. Man, yeah, go hop on LinkedIn. You want to see people get offended easily and butthurt easily. But it's offensive or being offended means, hey, you know what? I think you're ugly, your kids are stupid, and your wife's got a big butt. That's offending. That's offensive right there. But someone thinking a certain way, saying something, saying no to something, it's not really offending to you at all. I think that's the biggest thing is, again, back to the Mel Robbins, let them. Cool. I hear you. Yeah. It's not always about you.
And then that just goes
Although
back.
It's about us.
And that goes back to expectations are often premeditated resentments. So we have an expectation this person's going to say yes. And then when they don't say yes, we're angry because reality didn't live up to my expectation of it. And how dare you do that to me? And we take it personally. And like Bradley said, everybody's life is equally as complicated and complex as yours. And we often don't take that into consideration, that they're going through something that might be a little more challenging in the moment. But at the end of the day, we have to properly assess the situations and the people that we spend our time with and ask, is this somebody that is always a no in my life? Do they love and support me in the ways that are healthy and helpful? And if not, then do we spend time with them, or do we say, keep them as like a fair weather friend?
Yeah, it's interesting. Friendships are an interesting thing at midlife, aren't they? When we're younger, we don't think about it, but we all have experienced something where they're the oxygen thief. They're the ones that, wait a minute, I'm the one who's always asking. I'm the one who's always making plans. Or when we make plans, they're ditching me for some bigger, better deal. You know? And when you finally realize that, you go, that's everything about them. That's nothing about me. That's just them being a shitty friend. Or maybe that's just who they are. And do I want that in my life? You continue to allow, that's on you. There's nothing else right there.
Yeah, this is a really good question too. How do you deal with feelings of guilt, feeling disloyal when you have to leave people behind?
I hated this. I hated this idea at first because I had the old romanticized version of, oh, you're a ride or die. That's it. Some things have a shelf life. You know? Some things have a shelf life. I said it earlier in this conversation that, hey, not everybody makes every episode, not everybody makes every season. And that's okay. Sometimes it's just its own thing. The past couple of years have been difficult for me as I've grown and done other things and changed. There have been two friends that I've had for the better part of 20 plus years, and we've just grown apart. Now, it was never a F you, scorch the earth, take you in the horse you rode in on type situation. But I know from my perspective, I looked at it and I go, there's been significant changes. I'm not getting anything out of this. It's not worth the energy that I'm putting in anymore. That connection is not there. History does not mean there's a connection. And although there once was. And for me, I think sometimes we have this dramatic sense of it needs to be a big blow up, F you, whatever, because we can feel better about walking away that way. Sometimes it's just like, all right, I appreciate what it was at that period of time. And going back to the right theory, it's hey, what's right now. And right now it's not. And that's okay. You can feel guilty if it were someone did you wrong or whatever, but sometimes some things, they just run out of gas. And that's okay.
And then you have to shift into acceptance.
Hey, look, everything's got a season. Even Tom Brady leaves, right? Come on, everybody leaves something.
That's true. That's funny. Bradley Richardson, thank you so much for being here today. Tell everybody how to reach you and work with you and listen to your podcast. Absolutely. Thanks for having me. You ask, I'm there. So I love the work you're doing. Thank you. And thank you for including me in that. So all over social media, I'm Bradley Richardson. It's Advanced Adulting is the brand. I'm mostly on Instagram and on YouTube. The podcast comes out on Thursdays, and invite you definitely to go subscribe over there. And I'm sure I'll send him a link too, but we got a newsletter that comes out once a week as well with just tips, ideas, resources to help people navigate midlife. But Advanced Adulting podcast is the big thing. It's a video on Thursdays. I definitely encourage you to hit me up over there. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the clips on that, I highly suggest you go check them out. They're really good and really informational.